In Tokyo this morning, Secretary of State John Kerry said Iran will have to prove it is not trying to build nuclear weapons.
It would be diplomatic malpractice of the worst order not to examine every possibility. I assure Prime Minister Netanyahu and the people of Israel that nothing that we do is going to be based on trust.
This is Kerry's first response to a UN speech from Israel's prime minister, warning the U.S. not to trust Iran's new president, Hassan Rouhani. In an interview with Charlie Rose yesterday, Netanyahu laid out his evidence.
The first thing is understand what is going on in Iran, and I'm not guessing. This is not a guesstimate. This is very solid information.
You have sources?
Yeah, a few. There is a very clear distinction between Rouhani and Ahmadinejad. Rouhani says we can get to nuclear weapons with a smile. Ahmadinejad said we can get to nuclear weapons with a frown. Because the sanctions are about to take a devastating blow on the Iranian economy that has already been badly hit, Khamenei is giving Rouhani a chance.
And there is nothing in your DNA that would allow you to be Prime Minister of Israel when Iran has the capacity to make a nuclear bomb. Nothing, under no circumstances,
That's right.
would you allow that to happen.
That's correct.
Does Israel today have the capability to stop it? Because some people say, yes, the United States does, but no, Israel does not. All Israel can do is delay.
Well, you know something? I'll give you a state secret. The U.S. has a stronger military than Israel.
We all know that.
But don't shortchange Israel either. Don't shortchange. But I wouldn't go beyond that. I never do.
Do you worry that you're being, at this moment, while negotiations are underway, too strident in your language?
No.
Okay. Secondly,
no.
If
being very truthful.
If negotiations are underway, you can't launch an attack against Iran.
There you go again. I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I just formulated the principle. You know what the principle is?
No, what's wrong with what I just said? You cannot attack during the time that they're negotiating. Can you?
You know, I never talk about that, but I did and do say what has been said time and time again, including by President Obama. Israel is threatened with annihilation by Iran. And Israel has the right, I would say the duty, to defend itself by itself against any threat. By the way, Iran, Charlie, would not be interested in having one bomb or two bombs. They're gearing up with their infrastructure for 200 bombs. And they're not developing those ICBMs for us. They can reach us with what they have. It's for you. It's for you.
Well, you clearly told the president that, didn't you?
I don't have to tell him that because the American intelligence knows as well as we do that Iran is developing ICBMs not to reach Israel.
Okay, I want to ask you one more time. Is there any space between you and the American president? Because much has been written and said about differences between the prime minister and the president. Are you saying after this 3-hour conversation, we're on the same page, there's no difference, we have the same go-ahead momentum?
I think that at this stage, what I can say is we have a common goal. We've had it for many years.
Well, yeah, that's always been true.
But we also, I think
that's
the president,
nothing new about having a common goal.
I think the president something very important, said something very important publicly, and he repeated it privately. He said, what we have to see are steps, actions, not words.
Okay.
The policy should be not to let Iran, it's in no one's interest, not ours and not the U.S., not to let Iran wiggle away with a partial deal in which they make cosmetic concessions. You lift the sanctions or part of them. Once you do that, the sanction regime can collapse.
This is an important point. I mean, where is it that the United States and Israel differ on having negotiations with Iran? The president has said clearly we have to see deeds, not rhetoric.
Absolutely right.
And so what do you differ on?
We don't know that we differ on anything. We don't object to testing the diplomatic route. If there's any country on earth that is threatened with annihilation from Iran's nuclear weapons, it's us. So if we can resolve this diplomatically, bravo. But the question is, what is a deal that does it?